All right, doing a reshoot. So there we go. This is 1,200 gallon per hour. If not, actually, it's more like 1,057 according to Siri. The liters per hour rate converted does not match up to what they say, but 1,057. Here's the controller down here. So we're gonna dial this down to 40%, and as you can see, really didn't make that much of a difference. It's kind of cool looking though. So here is the completed project with the Jebao DCT-4000 pump that I mentioned in the previous video. One thing I noticed that once you cover this back up, now that we've seen it gurgle and bubble and all that good stuff, okay, put that back down. Now, we'll go back and crank this bad boy back up. There are improvements from the Flue Ball 306. One is all of my pipes, as far as I can tell now, get water flow. We were seeing a little bit of bubbles over here in the corner. I have probably just a hair slight leak, but the 1,200 gallon per hour pump is designed or intended to bypass my deficiencies of using silicone. So this is a Jebao pump. They say directly in the directions to have it underwater. I was not going to put it in my aquarium, maybe a pond down the road. So that's how you keep it cool. You just get a bucket, put some water in there. I very much recommend these guys right here, these unions, as I mentioned a couple videos ago. I actually put this in backwards. Thanks to these guys, it was a very simple swap. Otherwise, it would be a very painful yanking off hoses and putting them back on. So let's get to the good stuff. I'll turn this over real quick. All right. So, right here is the second pipe. Let's see if I get it to focus. That's not the second pipe. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. Here's a pipe. Let's get to. So you can see how the sand has cleared away. This is some of the super fine sand dust that kind of fell through. And this is the second pipe in the middle, or actually third pipe to the back. Now this was seeing far less flow than it is now from the 306. This was actually, more specifically, the clear spot was maybe half that size. Even better is I have flow all the way to the back. Not sure if we could see that. All the way to the back there. Not as much as I wanted, but the back is not necessarily, oh, actually we do, right there. Sorry about the video thing here. There is good flow going on back there, actually. Very good flow. So the full system is seeing the benefits of the 1,200 gallons per hour, whereas those last three pipes back there were barely seeing anything, if at all. Get it real quick. The system itself. So let's cover the expectations that were put forward. Previously mentioned that the budget was definitely well shot past the 160 that I estimated. I'm actually close in the 300-ish some range, somewhere in there. Buying more unions just to do this Jebao pump was 20 bucks worth of parts. The goals of this project were to see if it was possible and if it's a true improvement over the other existing reverse substrate systems where people essentially just drill holes in pipes, shove them underneath the sand, and basically let it work. In small setups, it actually is very simple to do. Get a really nice power head, plug it into your pipes, you're done. This is a 135 gallon aquarium. There are 225 pounds or so of sand. Medium grade sand specifically, so we're looking at 60 to 80 mesh worth of sand. I could go with fine sand, and if I did, we probably would actually see this bubble, and that would be your play sand is really fine stuff. We might actually see a bubble just like it was in the corner. That was actually play sand grade sand from previous tank. The improvements to the system would be immense from this point forward, because I basically was taking a shot in the dark, estimations. I really didn't do any calculations. I guesstimated my holes based on how I've done my spray bars. As you can see, the fifth or sixth one I made, and I've been pretty much stuck with it, and there's the reason why. It's just very, very good. So I applied the hole drill theory that I use for those to my pipes, and there's 77 total holes, 16th inch drill bit or less. I think it might even be closer to 2/32. Actually, that would be 16, so probably like 1/32. It might be what it is. Pretty small. 77 of those. The right way to do this, let's cover that. You would take the amount of pipe you're going to have. You would take the amount of gallons per hour you needed to output. You would get the right size pipe that would support that flow rate. In this case, I've got 3/4 inch pipe. I do not know the number off the top of my head. There are charts out there that will tell you how much free fall flow is possible and how much flow is possible with a pump. There are both sets of numbers. Engineers have spent decades doing this stuff with other projects, sewage, sanitation, water, city stuff. So the data's out there. You can basically come really darn close to a fully 100% engineered system using those numbers. If that's your goal, that's what I would do. I would look into that, calculate your hole sizes you need, how many holes you plan on doing. You put in that many holes, you're done. You'd be good. I probably would estimate this pump is working without any real pressure kickback. There's so many holes. Even if you were to take 77 times 1/32, you basically will come out to a pretty darn large amount of pipes. In fact, let me get that number real quick. So I essentially have the equivalent of 2.4 hold on one sec here. Give me 1 second to figure this out. Okay, so it actually would be times 0.75. So there's actually 1.8 inches worth of capable flow with the number of holes I have. If there's any engineers or mathematicians out there, feel free to correct me. I could be wrong, but that sounds pretty good to me. 1.8 inches is a lot of flow. So basically, even with my undersized holes, I have basically underdid those. And actually, it just came to my mind that I drilled the hole straight through on each spot through both pipes. So there's actually considerably more holes. So it's actually going to be 3.6 inches worth of capable flow. So I could put a lot of pressure under here if I really wanted to and have no effect on the pipe. Number two, you put a system in like this, you glue it in place. You do not want it unseating underneath all the sand, especially if you do what I do and silicone in a stainless steel mesh or a really good quality plastic mesh is what I encourage people to try to locate and find that will not degrade underwater. I couldn't find that between Lowe's, Home Depot, and all my hardware stores. A lot of them was garden meshes that have like 10-year life ratings, which, you know, that's not sitting in water, that's out of water. So I figured those would degrade over time potentially. A couple things to not get is fiberglass related media. So if you get like a fiberglass mesh, that's a no-go. Once that starts breaking down, if it gets to the fish, it will basically start cutting your fish up like as if you had a bunch of ghost shrimp in your tank. They will basically lacerate the fish. It'd be the same effect. Those that may chew tobacco, it's the same process. Those people are literally cutting constantly when they chew on that stuff. So you don't want that in the water. Other important note, I think, would be to guesstimate how much flow you could put under the sand. I mean, I've got 1,200 gallons. I'm going to go with, we could probably push a good 3,000 gallons per hour, and I might be lucky to see a bubble. There's so much surface area under this mesh, it'd probably be difficult to do. My plan going forward is to basically make some test beds and get a little more accurate systems for this. For example, this is kind of what I rigged up because I was curious. I thought I had it wired backwards, and I was like, well, maybe this will, get sucked down, and it kind of does. It's not too bad. Maybe I can get a better view here. Not really. It sort of sucks under. It's not bad. The FX6 barely even pulls that towards it, so I would not expect this system to even do that when the FX6 is half the power of this pump, and it's got a really nice outlet. I wouldn't expect it to suck it in at all. I did take a piece of dried worm. I held it near the outlet to make sure it got sucked in. It did get sucked in, and probably stuck in a pipe somewhere, and it'll disappear eventually. So a couple important notes to take. If anybody hasn't watched previous videos that maybe go too long, this one is probably going a bit longer than I wanted it to. Unions are very, very important to use. I highly suggest them. And the other thing I will always say is get the kind that you can remove the bibs or the barbed hose inputs. So if you, say, accidentally over tighten the hose clamp, you could potentially crush these, especially the one thing I'm going to kind of pick on the Jebao pumps for. Let me grab my flashlight real quick. The problem I have with the Jebao pump, the plastic they use is kind of thin. I was hesitant to keep kind of tightening down. I went as far as I felt I needed to, which is kind of keep going until it gets snug and then just do like a quarter turn, which is a general rule of thumb. Same goes for back there. I don't know the name of the company this UV filter is from. Same problem, very flimsy PVC, plastic material. I'm not happy with it. It's what they give you though. So if it were like this PVC material, it'd be way better, in my opinion. It'd be way safer anyway. You can over tighten, you can crack your PVC, you can do the same thing to your pipes. Some people will put the hose right over the pipes and then they just kind of run things around. I've done that before. And you can crush your pipes and crack them. So a couple important notes to make there. Glue well, because you're not going to be removing this. And make sure you have a budget in place that is designed to go, oops, I didn't get enough stuff, or this isn't going to work, and you can recover from it. Because if I didn't have the capability of keep buying and buying more components as I saw I was missing them or needed them, this project never would have happened. My fish are over there in a cooler, which they still are alive, all of them, including my Hellstream loach, which is amazing. They would basically be without a home for even longer than the project this took, which was darn near 2 weeks. Right now the tank is cycling, so they'll be in here shortly. I'm going to add them one by one, less important to the most important fish that are, more expensive is kind of the direction that I'm going to be going on that. So in the comments, have any questions, put them there. If you are a professional plumber, engineer, your job is to do this stuff. If you see any misdeeds or corrections that need to be accounted for, by all means comment in there, but be civil about it. This project is not designed to be sold. It's not designed to say, hey, if you do this, it's going to work exactly for you. This is solely, as far as I could tell, the first time anybody's ever documented this kind of a setup. My dad told me that a buddy of his did something similar to this. He only did the water, he just injected underneath, created a support for the system and around the edges and I think through the middle, and then he just kind of injected water and he just let it figure it out. I had problems with that. I wanted to make sure that the water was coming out everywhere, so I knew it was always coming up through all parts of the tank at once. That was my goal, my reason to do that. You could do it the way my dad's buddy did, which is where I got the idea for the mesh, because I actually could not figure out how I was going to protect my pipes. So that was a solution, was to buy $114 worth of stainless steel mesh, or $115 after tax, I think it was. So with that said, go crazy. Put your comments down there if you got comments on how you want to do this or ideas of what should be done. Please watch the previous videos so you have a decent idea of what to ask before you go asking straight questions of like what kind of glue I used. You can see what kind of glue I used, why I did what I did. There's a couple videos explaining all of the reasons why I did all of the things I did. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time, and enjoy. Have a good day.